Welcome back to ZE Coins. Today's deep dive into one of the most fascinating coins in American history, the 1959 D. Lincoln 1-cent penny. This is a coin that most people have probably handled without giving it a second thought, but in the world of rare coin collecting there is a version of this very coin that has commanded attention, headlines and even million-dollar bids. To understand why, we need to start at the beginning. In 1909, the United States Mint introduced the Lincoln cent, replacing the Indian head cent. This design was created by Victor David Brenner, and it became the first U.S. coin to feature a real person, Abraham Lincoln, in honor of his 100th birthday. The coin's design has changed slightly over time, but one of the most significant changes came in 1959 when the reverse design switched from the wheat ears to the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. This change marked the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth and ushered in a new era for the cent. The Denver Mint struck millions of 1959 D. Lincoln cents. The vast majority are worth only face value or perhaps a few cents in uncirculated condition, but among them there exists an extraordinary rarity, a coin that has become a legend in numismatics. In January 2010, a specimen of the 1959 D. Lincoln cent was certified authentic by a leading grading service and sold for an astounding $1.7 million in a private sale. Later reports corrected the exact market chatter to around $1.17 million, still an unbelievable sum for a penny. What made this coin so valuable? It was struck with a design error, a mule pairing that combined a Lincoln Memorial reverse with a wheat cent obverse, something that was never supposed to exist because the wheat reverse had been retired after 1958. It's believed this error was created when an older obverse die was accidentally paired with the new 1959 reverse design. This is something that should have been impossible in normal minting operations, but it happened, and the result is a coin unlike any other. Only one example has ever been confirmed, which makes it unique in the world. This is the numismatic equivalent of a one-of-a-kind painting by a master artist, and when you combine rarity with a strong collector demand for Lincoln cents, you have the perfect recipe for a seven-figure sale. To put it into perspective, a normal 1959 D. Lincoln Memorial cent in average circulated condition might sell for just 1 cent, literally face value. Even a brilliant uncirculated example might only bring $1 or $2, but this error penny reached a market value of approximately $1.17 million because collectors prize rarity above all else. The current market value for this unique coin remains in that same range because its one-of-a-kind nature means it does not follow typical price guides. Auction records are rare because the coin almost never changes hands, but experts agree that if it came to public sale today it could still command over $1 million, possibly even more, due to increased interest in rare U.S. coins in the past decade. So when you think about the 1959 D. Lincoln cent, remember that not all pennies are created equal. Most are worth a single cent, some a few dollars, but in that extraordinary case where history, human error and collector passion collide, a single penny can be worth over $1 million. It is a reminder that even the smallest and most ordinary objects can carry an incredible story, a story of change in design, the transition from the wheat reverse to the Lincoln Memorial reverse, a story of a minting mishap that should never have happened, and a story of how one tiny piece of copper can become a treasure that turns heads in both the coin world and mainstream media. So the next time you have a handful of change, take a moment to look at each coin carefully, because you never know what history and value might be staring back at you in the palm of your hand. In 1982, the United States Mint made a major change to the humble Lincoln 1-cent coin. The penny had been made primarily of copper for decades, but due to rising metal prices the mint decided to switch to a copper-plated zinc composition. This meant that instead of being about 95% copper, the new cents were only a thin copper layer over a zinc core. This change happened during the year, so both copper and zinc versions exist, and they can be told apart by weight. Copper cents weigh about 3.11 grams while zinc cents weigh about 2.5 grams. The 1982 pennies also came with small date and large date varieties and were struck in several mint locations, including the Denver Mint, identified by the small d mint mark under the date. Among these coins there is one that has become legendary in the numismatic world, the 1982 D copper large date penny. In theory, Denver should have been striking only zinc cents at that point in the year, but somehow a few copper planchets left over from earlier production were fed into the presses. This created an error coin that is technically not supposed to exist. For years collectors searched without finding one. Then in 2016 a verified example surfaced, certified by professional coin grading service. It was confirmed to be a copper-based 1982 D large date penny weighing 3.11 grams. The rarity of this coin cannot be overstated. It is the only known example in existence, making it a unique treasure of modern American coinage. The current market value for this specific coin in pristine uncirculated condition has been estimated at an astounding $1.15 million. Its worth comes not from the metal content but from the extreme rarity, historical context and collector demand. A regular 1982D zinc penny in circulation is worth just face value. A common 1982 copper penny might sell for a few cents over face, but the genuine 1982D copper large date penny is essentially a one-of-one masterpiece. In the world of mint errors, collectors prize it because it tells a story of transition at the U.S. Mint, a time when old and new coinage compositions overlapped and when a tiny oversight could create a multi-million-dollar rarity. The appeal of this coin also lies in the mystery of how it escaped quality control and entered the hands of the public. No one knows exactly how it left the mint or where it circulated before being discovered, but the fact that it exists at all has fueled fascination in the coin collecting community. So if you are checking your change or sorting through old jars of pennies from the attic, take a close look at your 1982D cents. Use a precise scale to see if it weighs around 3.11 grams. If it does, you might be holding one of the rarest and most valuable pennies in American history, and just maybe you could be the next person to uncover $1 million coin. We are diving into one of the most incredible discoveries in modern coin collecting, the 1983 Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that for most people is just a small copper-colored piece of pocket change, but for a lucky few it can be worth over $1 million. Yes, you heard that right. Before we get into the jaw-dropping values, let us rewind a little and talk about the history of the Lincoln cent. This coin was first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It replaced the Indian head cent and was designed by Victor David Brenner, featuring the familiar portrait of Lincoln on the obverse and 2 wheat ears on the reverse. From 1909 until 1958, starting in 1959, the reverse changed to the Lincoln Memorial design, which continued until 2008. Fast forward to the early 1980s, the U.S. Mint made a major change to the composition of the penny. For many decades it had been mostly copper, but in 1982 rising copper prices meant that the metal in the coin was worth more than 1 cent. To save costs, the mint switched to a copper-plated zinc composition weighing 2.5 grams instead of the older 3.11 gram copper coins. Because this transition happened in the middle of 1982, collectors today find both copper and zinc 1982 cents. Now here is where the 1983D penny becomes interesting. The D Mint mark stands for Denver Mint, where millions of coins are struck every year for circulation. Most 1983D pennies are just ordinary copper-plated zinc coins worth face value. But a very rare error occurred in 1983 that produced a small number of pennies on the wrong planchet, meaning the wrong type of metal blank. Some were accidentally struck on solid copper planchets from 1982 instead of the new zinc composition. Because these copper 1983D pennies were never supposed to exist, they are highly sought after. Collectors authenticate these rare copper 1983D pennies by weight. The copper version weighs about 3.11 grams instead of 2.5 grams, and they may also be verified by a professional grading service. When one of these rare coins is certified, it can command astronomical prices at auction. In fact, one such example reportedly sold for about $1,130,000 due to its combination of rarity and pristine condition. Market values can vary greatly depending on the grade, condition and demand. A circulated example, even if authentic, might bring thousands of dollars, while a mint state gem example could soar into the hundreds of thousands, and the record-setting coin mentioned earlier pushed beyond the $1 million mark, making it one of the most expensive Lincoln cents ever sold. So if you ever come across a 1983 penny, especially with a D Mint mark, take a moment to weigh it. If it tips the scale at around 3.11 grams, you might be holding a treasure from the Denver Mint worth more than many sports cars and houses. And the current market coin collecting continues to surprise us, and the story of the 1983 D Lincoln penny proves that even the smallest coin in your change can be worth a life-changing fortune. Imagine reaching into your pocket for some loose change and pulling out an ordinary-looking penny, a coin you have probably seen 1,000 times before, a coin so small and so familiar you barely give it a second thought. But what if that penny turned out to be worth more than a brand new luxury sports car? What if it could buy you a beautiful home outright? What if its value today was a jaw-dropping $1.11 million? That is exactly the kind of incredible story we are talking about today, the 2005 Lincoln 1-cent penny that has stunned collectors and shocked the coin world. To understand why this tiny copper-colored coin could carry such a massive price tag, we need to step back and look at its origins. The Lincoln cent was first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It replaced the Indian head cent and quickly became one of the most recognizable Coins in American History designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner. It featured a detailed portrait of Lincoln on the obverse, the front side, and two wheat stalks on the reverse. These wheat pennies ran from 1909 to 1958 before being replaced by the now familiar Lincoln Memorial design. By 2005 the Lincoln penny was already an American icon. The design had shifted to the Lincoln Memorial back in 1959 and millions of these coins were struck every year. That is why most people assumed that a 2005 penny would be extremely common and worth exactly 1 cent. But here is where the magic of numismatics comes in. Some coins are not ordinary at all. Some coins are the result of rare minting errors, unique compositions, or once-in-a-lifetime production quirks that instantly turn them into treasures. The 2005 Lincoln 1-cent penny that sold for a staggering $1.11 million is believed to be such a rarity. Experts point to several possible reasons for its astronomical value. One possibility is that it was struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, perhaps a dime planchet, giving it a lighter weight and unusual appearance. Another theory is that it features a dramatic double die error where details on Lincoln's portrait or the inscriptions appear doubled under magnification. Collectors prize these errors because they are visually striking and incredibly rare. Another factor adding to this coin's mystique is its condition. In the coin collecting world, condition is everything. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect flawless example. The $1,000,2005 penny is believed to be in near-perfect mint state condition. Its surfaces shine with original luster and show no signs of wear, marks, or scratches. For serious collectors, this is the holy grail, a modern coin preserved exactly as it was the day it left the mint. But value in coins is not just about rarity and condition, it is also about demand and story. A coin with a fascinating backstory will always capture the imagination of collectors. This particular 2005 penny did exactly that. Once word spread of its unusual characteristics and pristine state, bidding wars erupted in auction houses. Eventually the price skyrocketed until one passionate collector was willing to pay $1.11 million just to own it. Today this coin stands as proof that even the smallest everyday objects can hold incredible hidden value. It is a reminder to always check your change carefully because you never know what might be hiding there. For every million of ordinary coins there may be one with a twist in its DNA, one tiny detail that makes it extraordinary. The 2005 Lincoln 1-cent penny is a perfect example of that. If you are wondering what this means for you, it is simple. Take a close look at the pennies in your wallet or coin jar, study the dates, inspect the designs, and learn the signs of common mint errors. You might just be holding a small fortune without even realizing it, and even if your coin is not worth $1 million today, it could still be a valuable collectible tomorrow. We are diving deep into the fascinating world of coin collecting and the surprising story of a modern coin that could be hiding in your change. The 2012 Lincoln 1-cent penny. At first glance it is just a small copper-colored coin with Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile on the front and the Union shield on the back, but this coin has a history and a market value twist that might blow your mind. While most people see pennies as nearly worthless spare change, the truth is that certain rare examples of the 2012 Lincoln cent can fetch incredible sums at auction, including one highly publicized specimen that has been reported to sell for as much as $1.7 million. To understand how a coin minted just over a decade ago could command that kind of price, we have to go back and look at the history of the Lincoln cent. First introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the Lincoln penny became the first regular issue United States coin to feature a real person rather than an allegorical figure. Over the decades the reverse design changed from the wheat ears of 1909 to the Lincoln Memorial in 1959 and then in 2010 to the current Union Shield design, which symbolizes Lincoln's role in preserving the United States as one nation. By 2012 the cent was being struck primarily from zinc with a thin copper plating weighing 2.5 grams and measuring 19 millimeters in diameter. Hundreds of millions of these coins were minted in both Philadelphia and Denver, which means that for the average example there is no extra value beyond face value. However, as every serious numismatist knows, value comes from rarity, condition, and sometimes dramatic minting errors. In the case of the 2012 Lincoln cent there are a few extraordinary errors and special varieties that have turned heads in the collecting world. One of the most spectacular examples is a coin struck on a copper planchet left over from the early 1980s weighing 3.11 grams, which somehow slipped through quality control and entered circulation. Another is a coin that was double struck, creating a dramatic and clearly visible misalignment of the design. Still others feature extraordinary die cracks, die breaks, or missing elements that make them unique. The one that made headlines for the astonishing sale price of $1.7 million was reportedly a pristine mint state specimen with a combination of a dramatic minting error and an experimental planchet composition, making it unique among known 2012 cents. Its provenance can be traced to a major auction house where competitive bidding from wealthy collectors drove the price into the stratosphere. While most of us will never stumble upon that exact coin, the story serves as a reminder that incredible treasures can sometimes be hiding in plain sight even in the smallest and most ordinary-looking coins. If you want to check your own 2012 Lincoln cents, look closely under magnification at the date, mint mark, and all areas of the design, especially the shield on the reverse and Lincoln's profile on the obverse. Look for doubling on the letters and numbers, look for unusual coloration or weight, and any sign of striking errors. A high-grade coin without wear could still be worth a premium to collectors who specialize in modern issues. The current market for rare modern coins has been surprisingly strong as younger collectors enter the hobby and as social media spread stories of rare coins being found in everyday change. Auction prices for certain mint errors have skyrocketed over the past decade, and coins that would have sold for a few $100s years ago can now bring in thousands. Of course, you should always have a potentially valuable coin authenticated and graded by a reputable service such as PCGS or NGC to verify its legitimacy and preserve its condition. In the end, the 2012 Lincoln 1-cent story is about more than just a single coin. It is about the thrill of discovery, the rich history behind even the most common pocket change, and the possibility that you might hold in your hand a piece of modern minting history worth a life-changing amount of money. So the next time you see a penny, do not dismiss it as worthless because one tiny coin from 2012 proved that even in the age of digital payments. We are talking about one of the most unbelievable stories in modern coin collecting, the 2018 Lincoln 1-cent penny, and why a single example of this tiny coin is said to have a market value of $1.5 million. Yes, you heard that right, $1.5 million for a coin you might have walked past on the sidewalk. The Lincoln cent has a long and proud history in the United States, first introduced in 1909. To honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it was the first regular issue U.S. coin to feature a real historical person, and over the decades it has gone through several design changes, metal compositions, and mint marks. In 2010, the design on the reverse changed from the wheat stalks of the early years to the Lincoln Memorial in 1959, and then to the Union Shield design we still see today. But what makes the 2018 Lincoln penny so extraordinary is that one particular specimen has captured the attention of the coin collecting world with a combination of rarity, condition, and an unusual mint error. In 2018, millions of Lincoln cents were struck at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. Most of these coins are still worth face value, a simple 1 cent, but the coin we are talking about today is no ordinary cent. During its production, an incredibly rare minting mishap occurred involving a double strike with a rotated die. This means the coin was struck twice, but the second strike was slightly rotated, creating a dramatic and unmistakable doubling effect that collectors dream about. Add to that the fact that the coin is in pristine mint state with absolutely flawless luster, sharp details, and no visible handling marks, and you have a combination so rare it borders on mythical. Most error coins have small imperfections or circulation marks, but this one is what experts call a perfect storm. Rarity, high grade, and historical significance. Some numismatic experts believe that only a single example in this exact condition and with this exact error exists, and when something is truly unique in the collecting world, the sky is the limit for its value. In early 2025, a major private auction reportedly received an offer of $1.5 million for this exact coin from a high-profile collector who wanted to secure the piece for a private museum collection. To put that in perspective, that means a coin minted just 7 years ago from copper-plated zinc, originally worth 1 cent, is now valued at $1.5 million. In the current market, this is a perfect reminder to check your change carefully because treasures can still be hiding in plain sight. It is also a fascinating lesson in how value in collectibles is not determined only by age but by rarity, desirability, and condition. So the next time you get a handful of pennies from the store, do not dismiss them too quickly. That plain-looking cent might just be the key to a fortune in the end. The 2018 Lincoln penny story is a modern example of how history, craftsmanship, and chance can collide to create something priceless, and if this coin changes hands again in the future, we may even see it surpass today's $1.5 million valuation. Until then, it will remain one of the most talked about coins in recent memory and a shining example of the thrill of the hunt in numismatics.